Shavar. These are the things I know and things I don't know. I know that somewhere in Shavar, Hungary, a tower stands, its white walls a cold monument to my broken heart. Castles were built so that people could remain safe within them, protected from marauders and soldiers that swarmed the hills around the moats. Castle Shavar was built over the earthworks over a Hungarian settlement. At one time, Elizabeth Bathory, in her husband's absence, ran the local defenses of Shavar, a dangerous place located between Royal and Ottoman Hungary. Elizabeth Bathory belied the idea that inside castle walls one could seek protection from evil. Shavar has today a pentagonal courtyard and Italian-style ramparts. A red brick bridge leads to the castle. In the eastern wing, an open Gothic Renaissance corridor with columned arcade resonates with the sooty footfalls of things that move in the shade and sometimes whisper in the ears of visitors distracted by the war paintings of Hans Rudolf Miller. They may wave away the voices while the tour guide prattles on, or assume they are merely the ambient sounds the ornamental crooks and crannies of a castle will make. Castles have a voice, and they have a story. Castle Shavar has a tower. Birds flutter about in the dark rafters of the peaked roof. It was in this place that a priest from the town to the east went armed with the implements of exorcism as the sun descended in a red bloom behind the dark ramparts. It was the handsome art student that I met in the great hall who touched my hand as he spoke about the Old Testament paintings by Stephen Dorfmeister. He was the one I knew I loved, and he was the one whose scent moved like roses through the pulsing fibral filters of my beating heart. He was the one I tried to savor like a standing glass of Budapest wine. With all my senses, his long fingers used to holding the shaft of brushes, his nostrils flaring faintly with the smell of oils and turpentine. I tried to be with him everywhere. I tried to attach myself to everything he did, and yet I anguished over the moment that I might lean too far and destroy the fragile bridge between us. He listened, but not to me. It was those walls. It seemed his head was always crooked to acknowledge some unseen speaker. My words swept past him, darting like bees that his thoughts waved away. He listened to something else, cloistered in the clammy halls of Castle Shavar. Sometimes when I rose from my bed at the hotel, I would get dressed and walk the streets, stroll over the brick bridge, and discover him alone in the darkness in the castle's gardens, speaking to the searching moonlight. My aggressive rival was the invisible thing that ruled the halls of Castle Shavar. Someone on the museum board decided that to end the exodus of groundskeepers, frightened by reaching shadows that plagued them at their job, at least some symbolic act must be done. When the priest arrived announcing what he was up to, the curators, gardeners, and maintenance people fled the castle like animals from a fire. The tourists were told the museum was closed for renovation. Doors and windows were shut all over Shavar. Only the lights from the taverns flickered on vacant streets. I wanted him to meet with me at the Arboretum. He didn't come. Instead, I found him later in the gardens of the castle, speaking animatedly to the stars and silent bushes and stone walkways. Something touched him from the shadows and stroked his dark hair and set my heart racing with boundless, aching jealousy. He turned on the sound of footsteps marching towards the tower, and before I could call out, he slipped away under the brittle stars. I rounded the corner of a rampart wall to see him enter the tower door. In the top room above, lights flickered in the unblinking eye of the window. As I moved across the cut lawns, the ghosts of young women brushed past me, sighing like something windy and ageless, and in unrelenting pain. Along the rampart walls, frozen bodies in a rigid fall of water stood bright and luminous like the work of a sadistic sculptor under a leering moon. I heard footfalls. I followed them up the steps, stumbling in the faint light. Floor to floor, he was always ahead of me, and at the final level under the pointed roof, smoke curling in the lighted rafters, I caught my breath and stopped. Suspended above the floor, Elizabeth Bathory drifted in a cloud of fire. Every corner, every closet, every room of the castle was alive with the chatter of women. The sound grew in force and fitfulness. It rose and fell with the cadence of the old priest's voice. He seemed to relish Elizabeth's pain when she suffered under the influence of his holy relics. That perfect hand reached for her fingers of fire, and as the holy water spit through the charged air, all the shadows in the castle cried out with the shrill voices of the peasant girls who had died in Elizabeth's dungeons, their redemption rising in a final shriek of triumph. She took him. She took my love. As the priest bellowed at the smoking rafters, a blast of fire driving him through the window of the room like a broken doll to lie mangled on the glistening lawn below. There are things that I know, and things I don't know. I know that no one in Sarvar will talk about any priest or commotion in the castle tower. Ask anyone, they'll smile politely and turn away. The police chief assures me he will look for my love, but days pass, and the castle ramparts tough with snow. The garden bushes rattle in the wind, the paths rock with sifting winter white. I move among the few who come now to see the paintings, the great vaulted rooms. If I am alone, if I listen, if I let myself hear it, the castle speaks to me, its language of light, of dust, of shifting shadows, while I sit at the long table before the custodians come to ask me to leave again, and study in silence with folded hands the troubled figures of heaven and hell. On the mural walls of Castle Sarvar.